recorded. Cool. Okay. Thank you for joining me too. You're my first podcast, so I really appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah. But so just this whole pandemic, have you just been doing like a lot of baking and cooking and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think when the pandemic started, we have to basically, I think not just me, but we basically had to cook ourselves. And
Right.
because restaurants were closed, even though takeouts were available, I think most people kind of turned to the kitchen.
Right.
So I think I'm kind of glad that it happened because it kind of made me experiment a lot. And I
Right.
think many things I haven't tried before, and it definitely helped me like explore more flavors and different cuisines and stuff like that. So I think, yeah, quarantine really pushed me to my
Yeah.
limits, and I think that's in a good sense of the,
Right. Do you guys have like
yeah.
more restrictions down there than over here, like in LA?
Well,
I'm not
well,
necessarily in LA, but I'm like an hour away.
yeah. Well, I think LA is like a hotspot for the COVID-19,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the restrictions are the same, more or less, in
Right.
San Diego and LA. So it's not fun, but we
Right.
gotta do what we can do to kind of help health workers and stuff like that.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah, I get
not
that.
really mad about it.
I know. At the beginning, my biggest problem was like I kept eating out, and only like the past couple of like months, I was like, all right, maybe I should stop, like, and kind of
Yeah,
just like start eating at home. Plus, it's so much money. Like
I
I
know.
was
I
telling my friend,
know.
I spent like I think $400 a month probably on just eating
For
out.
takeouts,
Yeah.
takeouts. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And yeah, I know. It's much cheaper to buy just ingredients and cook at home. And I
Right.
think it's also fun like activity to do with your partner or your
Right.
roommate or whatever. Even on your own, you can just really let go of your creativity and cook something at home. I think it's really
All
fun.
right. Are you vegan? Are you
I am vegetarian for the last 6 or 7 years now,
okay?
but I'm not vegan. I tried
Right.
being vegan for a little bit, but just didn't work out for
Me
me.
too. I was vegetarian for 2 years, and I think at the end of that, I was like, I'm gonna try going vegan. I did it for like a
Yeah.
week, and then after that, I was like, this is not for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I think I did it for about 3 weeks.
Okay.
And, I think it's much, much easier to do it in the US. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
tried being vegan back in Poland when I was sitting at home, like over the summer or something. And
Right.
it's just much, much more difficult because vegan products are not as easily available.
Right.
Yeah, but I just can't give up cheese that easily. Like cheese and butter, I just can't live without.
I know, especially if you're making bread all the time, you have like butter and
Oh,
like
I know.
yeah.
Yeah, you can't really beat like fresh bread and butter.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Do you eat bread
yeah.
every day?
Uh, Not every day, but I
Yeah.
definitely have like a slice or two. When I bake it, it's fresh out of the oven. I just can't
Right.
help it.
It looks
But
so good.
I know. I'm trying not to eat it every day because
It's a lot, yeah. No, yeah.
yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, no, like every time you post sourdough, because that's my favorite, so I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
fuck, yeah,
I know.
yeah,
Yeah, it's funny because it's been almost a year since I started baking sourdough, and
uh-huh,
it's been a process. I am a self-taught sourdough baker,
okay,
and I had like a lot of failures before I
right,
actually came up with the recipe that works for me, and
mm-hmm,
it's been a journey for sure.
yeah. Were you part of that like whole phase when I think at the beginning of the pandemic, like everyone started baking? Is that why?
Yeah,
Is that what you got into it?
yeah. Well, I don't really know because before the pandemic started, I was actually working at a restaurant for almost a year
Oh wow, okay,
as a pastry cook, and I before like it was like maybe a week or 2 weeks before the lockdown happened. I
mm,
was about to go to Las Vegas for like a 3 months pastry program. And then everything got canceled all of a sudden, and I was like, okay, like what I'm gonna do now?
yeah,
So I decided to just experiment a lot, and the sourdough kind of came up with a conversation with my mom because my mom is like an amazing cook and baker, and she was
mm-hmm,
making bread when we were growing up, and she was like, why can't you just start baking bread like
mm-hmm,
at your home? Because it's like it takes a lot. It's like a long process,
right,
and
right,
it's definitely challenging to learn. And I was like, I never thought about this, but maybe I'll try. And
yeah.
that's basically how it started, like in March or April.
Right. I mean, I've seen you post. There's like a video in particular. You were writing
Uh-huh.
notes in a book, but you were
Yeah.
doing like equations.
Oh yeah.
I was like, what the hell? Like, like it looks so in depth, like you had it like down to a science of like how to get the perfect loaf, and I was like,
Yeah,
that's dedication. I like that. Yeah.
that's well, that's maybe dedication or a course. I don't know how you can call it, but I do like the science behind it
Right.
for sure. And I was never like, I never really liked science at school and math at school. I always thought I was bad at math. But
Same.
then when I started making bread and stuff, it's all math. Baking is all math and chemistry. So I do like this part of baking, and I like doing these crazy equations, and I like just trying to figure it out.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the fun. That's the fun about it.
It looked amazing. How do you get like too? I don't know if this kind of just happens when you're baking it, but I've seen like floral designs in like the sourdough as well, or is that just like a part of what happens?
It's basically you just do like little scores on your bread with like a lame or something like that, or a sharp knife, and then you can create whatever you want. And then when the bread bakes, it kind of expands, and you have this beautiful designs.
Yeah.
Although I am not very good at those like designs, so people go crazy and they make like whole loaves with like covered in flowers, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
I am more of a like slash and burn kind of person. But sometimes it's really fun to do those designs. And I think it's really artistic in a way.
Right. Yeah. Does your boyfriend love the baking too?
He likes eating more.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
I'm
he
sure
definitely
he likes
benefits. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. You have like a big butcher block too. I seen like, or is that what it is? Like you have like a large surface area to work with.
It's kind of like a butcher block table. It's called a baker's table, so it's basically a giant, massive butcher block and with metal legs. So it's amazing. I'm really glad I did the purchase.
Yeah, because I saw one like it on Instagram. I really want to make something like it. It was made. It's like kind of like the size you have, but it has metal legs to it and wheels.
Yeah. I have a model without wheels because I decided it's just gonna stay in one place. But it's definitely fun, and knowing you and knowing your designs, I think it's gonna be really beautiful.
Yeah. After the first board I sent you sent me that message that you were gonna hang it up. And I sold a couple more, and that was like the similar message I keep getting. They're like, I don't want to use it. Like,
I know it is so beautiful, and I think you choose like the piece of wood that is just so unique and has like unique shapes and colors. It's just like I don't want to use it.
No, I totally.
It's just
get
too
that.
pretty,
Yeah. I made one for my mom on her birthday.
Oh yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, like it's like she was hesitant to use it as well, but I was like, like why not?
Yeah.
But I could see now like all the cutting marks and everything, like it just it builds its character,
Yeah. So I know I actually did use your board once, but it was like on the Christmas Day dinner when we had some small family come over, and it was like maybe 8 people, 9 people, and I did like I was hosting that dinner, and I did like some small appetizers kind of thing at the beginning, and I used this board at kind of like a middle of the table. It was like the center of it all.
I love that.
With some like small appetizers, but it's just so beautiful. Everyone commented on this board.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that makes me feel good. Yeah, I have a farmer's market I'm doing this Saturday. So,
oh, great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I hope that goes well. I was going to ask you too about the vegetarian, because I know when I was vegetarian, it's hard to have that sort of dietary lifestyle when you go to like another country or when you're in like just a different culture, because that's not the norm as it is in like in the United States,
Yeah. It's definitely, well, I kind of feel like maybe it's a little easier because I kind of, the way I started being vegetarian was when I was, I think 16 or something, when I was on a contract in South Korea, and I got really, really bad food poisoning from a chicken I bought in a supermarket.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, if I am like somewhere else, not my home or anywhere, like not in Europe, I'm just gonna like not eat meat, period, because I don't really know, the origin of this meat. I don't really, it's just different in Asia. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna skip eating meat when I travel, and that's kind of how it started. So I think it's easier to be vegetarian when you're traveling because vegetables look the same everywhere. And when you're buying meat somewhere else, you don't even know where it came from.
True.
Is it fresh? So it might be a little easier to be vegetarian when you travel, to be honest.
Yeah. You said where? South Korea?
South Korea, yeah.
You lived over there?
I lived there for 3 months.
Okay.
So it's kind of temporary.
Okay. Did you learn any Korean while you're there?
No, I mean, like
Yeah.
when I was doing photo shoots and stuff like that, when people were saying stuff, I would pick up some words, but I would never speak Korean, no.
Right.
For some reason, like the Asian languages are really difficult for me to learn.
Right.
Yeah.
I get that. You speak Polish, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. When was the last time you were in Poland?
It was last year in January.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there for just a couple of days because I was working in Switzerland, and that was my last official job as a model. And I decided to visit my family for like 5 days or something like that. But that was like before pandemic started. So.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I was with a friend a week before they locked down. They shut down everything.
Yeah.
We were talking about it, like, this pandemic, it'll be over in like 2 weeks,
Yeah.
Literally a week later, the entire country shuts down. And
I
we're just like,
know.
we texted each other like, just like, didn't even know what to say. Like,
I know.
we were so wrong.
It seems so unreal at the time. And then we were like, okay, it's going to be over by summer. It's not going to be like that long, but it's been almost a year already.
Right.
And it's kind of a new normal right now.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, that's like, just accept it at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
How much longer do you think, like, just a timeline, when do you think things kind of maybe open up or less masks?
Well, right now the vaccine started.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have all the doctors and nurses getting vaccines, and I think for now it's going to be I think right now it's shorter period than we may think. I think maybe it will resume like May or June, to be honest.
Yeah.
I really hope so. I hope the summer is going to be like the amazing summer.
That's very hopeful. Yeah. I think the same thing. It's like maybe summertime, but like I have a friend who's more on the, I won't say pessimistic side, but he likes to be realistic. He's like, got like 2 years of this. I'm like, don't say that.
No, I really hope not.
Yeah. But it's you kind of just accept it at some point,
Yeah. Well, let's hope with a new president. That's happy inauguration.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's a good day.
I think he's gonna have like a little better management of this whole pandemic and better like vaccine plans, and hopefully he's gonna move a little faster.
I hope so. I really do hope so. Yeah. But time will tell. In the meantime, we just kind of focus on whatever craft we're doing. Like I know the woodworking, like that's all I'm doing. It's like woodworking, and I go hiking, and, work out here and there. But it's kind of weird because you have to find something to focus on. Otherwise, you kind of just go a little crazy,
Yeah, I agree. And, if we are lucky enough to be able to work from kind of home, I know many people who were like laid off because of the pandemic. So that's not so happy part about 2020, even though, you and I, we found something that we really, really like doing, but many people were not so lucky. So
Right.
Yeah.
And is it something that you want to take like further past the pandemic? Like, do you want to make a career out of it, or is it kind of just, you're just doing it for yourself right now?
I think so. I already started shifting my careers, I would say 2 years ago. And it was kind of a natural process because I was thinking about quitting the fashion industry for the last maybe 3 years. So it was a slow change. It was really, really slow change, but I took it like as I went. But I think I would really consider it as my future career, hopefully.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Like, would you want to do working at a restaurant, or would you be like more of a personal chef?
I never really thought about being personal chef, maybe in the future, but I would definitely see myself maybe in a bakery or something like that. Maybe something that I do right now, but expand it to like open a bakery somewhere in San Diego.
Yeah, I was gonna ask too. Would you do that in San Diego? I feel like
I maybe for now, and I think we don't really have a lot of bakeries that are good that sell really good bread. So I think that's something that's missing here. We have a couple, but maybe we would need like one more.
Right. This is a really good spot.
Yeah. So I think that's something I would maybe consider for the future. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I love San Diego too. That's one of my favorite cities. Like the weather
really
is
chill.
always nice there, and like less hectic than LA.
Oh yeah. I feel very lucky and fortunate to be living here.
Right. Did you live in LA when you worked out here?
No, I was just traveling from San Diego if I have castings or jobs.
Wow. Okay, yeah. I know a few people that did that. Good for you. I lived right there in Hollywood, and that was like the worst year ever.
No, like I didn't really feel LA. I mean, it was fun for like a day or two when I was there, but I didn't really feel like I belonged.
Right. Yeah. It's very, I don't know how to put it. It's just very aggressive, like there's always, I feel like there's always tension in the air. Yeah.
Well, I would describe maybe like New York City as aggressive and it's like straight into your face, but LA is more like passive aggressive. Everyone's so nice and so fake, but
there's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I've never been to New York personally, but I know I already know that city's not for me.
Yeah, it's really tense.
Yeah.
If you want to make a career, you gotta work hard.
Right. Yeah. But so you did modeling for how many? 10 years, right?
About 10 years. Yeah. So I quit last year in February, and then it was my 10-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you started really young, huh?
I started when I was 14.
Wow.
So that's in my opinion, is way too young.
Right. Yeah. And you started in Poland?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was discovered on like Facebook.
Okay.
One of my friend, who's still one of my best friends now, I posted some photo of me. Like it was like we were, goofing around, teenage girls. And she took a couple pictures of me and she posted them on Facebook or something like that. And she had her settings on public so everyone could see those pictures. And that's somehow one of the agents from Warsaw agency saw those pictures, and that's how they make a connection.
Yeah.
How they made a connection. So it's crazy.
I was talking to someone recently about how, people who have, I guess, I don't want to say a bigger modeling career, but, get really into it. They don't really go after it. They just kind of get discovered, Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of just like, I don't know if luck of the draw is the right terminology, but, kind of just like the way things happen.
Yeah, there are a lot of girls and boys that get discovered, and that's how kind of like, you were not planning on doing it, but then you got discovered and you feel like it's a huge opportunity to do this kind of career. So I think that's why they're more driven than people who actually want to be models.
Right.
It's hard to tell, really.
Yeah.
But I know a couple of girls that really wanted to be a model, and they were kind of really pushing this career path, and maybe that's not really helping that industry.
Right. And how did you feel when you were that young, 14 years old? How did you feel like when someone approached you? Like, do you kind of have this idea of like, I guess glamorizing what that life might be?
Yeah, definitely. When you're 14 and someone asks you if you want to be like a model or actress, you have this like pictures in your head of being on the cover of magazines, and it's really, really glamorous life, as you said. But yeah, you don't really know what it's like.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially, I was born and raised in such a small town in the like eastern part of Poland, and it's really conservative and not an easy place to grow up with. Grow up in it. But when I saw this like kind of how do you say it, like a shed of light, it was like I can get out of this place and I can travel the world. So it was kind of, I had this kind of approach that it was like a chance for me to have a different life.
Yeah, I think most people kind of, when you're young too, like you just think about like, I can, get a bunch of money and kind of get out of this. Maybe you feel like you're in not the best situation in your life,
Yeah.
But when you're young, you don't know the problems that lie ahead of you, like the hard work it takes too, if you really want to make it in that world. And the negative aspects of everything, because like no matter what you do, everything has a negative aspect. It's just what you want to put up with.
Yeah. Well, and also like this industry is just not really easy for young people, I feel like, because we are just so naive at this age. Like, you know, when you were 14 and I was signing that contract, did you even I didn't really understand what it meant, to be honest. It was just kind of stupid of me because I didn't have like lawyers consulted or like anything like that. So I didn't really understand what I was signing up for, to be honest. And I think maybe many agencies take advantage of that, that young people don't really know. They just know, like, you know, the picture of it, but they don't really know what's behind the picture. So I think that's really an issue that needs to be talked about in that industry.
It is. And I'm really glad you brought that up, because from my experience in being in that industry, you know, more of like a background character as opposed to being in front of the camera. Contracts, I always talk to people about contracts and how you should really pay attention to what's in those, because I know I had another conversation with a model friend of mine, and we were talking about models that come from another country and go to like a model house, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes,
nasty places.
Your reaction, you already know. Like, it's a nasty place, and two, you think you're moving to LA or Hollywood or whatever, and you don't realize. And
then you have to share a bathroom with 10 different girls.
That too, and then the money aspect is like the money you make from any job. It's gone before you even see it. You know, that's going towards you know, the rent, towards, you know, like it's taken from your agency or whatever. And
the model apartment idea is really problematic because, you know, if you have like a one apartment, it's let's say it's like 3 or 4 bedroom apartment, and you have like so many girls living in there, like I said, maybe 10 or 15, you don't even know. Like I had a situation when I was living in bunk beds. So it was like we had one room and it was like maybe 6 girls in one room on bunk beds. Oh, shit. And every single girl paid like $300 per, you know, for the stay. And if you calculate all of that money, it's just huge amount for this shitty apartment. And you know, that's how agencies charge. And as you said, like everything we earn goes towards the rent and what's not. So it's just not really fair way to treat girls.
It's, you know, and like you said too, when you're a young age, you just sign the contract. I'm a model now, you know, sign the contract, sign away, but you're signing so much away, you know, as far as your independency and, you know, how and when you get your money. I think when you were first discovered and you were like 14-year-old or 15-year-old, you just don't really read the contract. You're just so excited to be part of it, part of this industry. And I had so many young girls come to me and they were like keeping the contract in their hand. Like they were like, okay, can you explain to me what does it mean? After they already signed it?
No, after they already signed it, because they were like, I don't really know, now I'm in a bit of trouble because I want to quit my agency and they threatening me with the lawyers and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, first, you don't sign a contract before you actually read it. Right. But many girls do, and that's one of the problems.
Right, and, you know, like I said, being in the background, I saw how the money flow works. I saw, you know, like, I was paying very close attention on how any aspect of what your agency does for you, you get charged for that, and that's coming straight out of your first paycheck, your second, third, all the way up, you know? And like I correlate it a lot to the music industry because it works exactly the same thing. You know, like artists get signed to a major label, and they get charged for studio time, distribution, advertising fee, everything. So I saw a lot of correlation.
In the modeling industry, you have to pay for being on a website. You have to pay for like printing your comp cards and stuff like that. So.
It's hard. It's hard for a young person. Like, and I know you have like such a, you know, like a big following. Do you get a lot of young models still asking you kind of for advice in that world?
I do, and I'm trying to be like really positive about it, and I'm trying to like warn them just to take everything with a grain of salt a little. Because, you know, some agencies, I don't know what the situation right now. I think it's getting better, but some agencies back when I started were like really, it was just a sweet talk. They were promising you so many things, and you just can't, as a young person, I really believe in those things, and you just have to take everything with a grain of salt and don't get your expectations too high.
Right.
Yeah. And this industry, I feel like right now it's, they love like new faces and they want to use new faces. And then when you appear on like 2, 3, maybe 5 campaigns, you just, people started to get tired of you and they searching for more new faces. And it's kind of like, unless you're like, I don't know, Gigi Hadid or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely, if you were longer in this industry and you were there for like a long time, it's hard for you to get more work because new faces are coming like this and nobody wants to book you anymore. So yeah, that's definitely a difference that I've noticed. When I was really young, like when I first started, I had like I was working almost every day like crazy. But then as it was time went by, it was more difficult for me to book jobs because the clients were like, okay, like I saw you at a competitor, I don't want to book you anymore.
Right. Yeah. And do you feel like that's kind of a theme for like, because most models start their career really young. Like you started at 14. I know most models start around like 16, 17.
Yeah.
And by the time they get to like, 25, I'd say around that area, like they don't get treated that well, like especially by their agency too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's very, like
unless you're like a money maker.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're at 25 and you still like book amazing catalogs and you make money for agencies, like nobody's gonna comment on you.
Right.
But if you're in this industry for let's say 10 years or so and you kind of have problems booking jobs, they're definitely gonna comment on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like they comment on a lot of things and it's tough. It's not. And like I was only in the LA market, I don't even know what it's like in New York or China or wherever else, like how.
Yeah.
Aggressive it might be, or very cutthroat industry,
Yeah. Well, like I feel like this industry really wants young looking people, and if like I think there was a problem with me. I started so young and I had a certain look, and as I was getting older, even as an 18-year-old, 20-year-old, they were basically having problem with how my body looked, how my body changed over the years. And I'm like, I'm not 16. I'm not like 14 anymore. Like my body is going to change.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and I know you talk about
harsh word.
Right. I know you talk about that openly, kind of just like your experiences that you went through when you were around that age, like 16, and kind of the effects it had on like, your body and your mental health. Like how did that come about, and how were you able to kind of overcome those obstacles? Because that's a huge thing for a young girl to like overcome,
Yeah. Well, I think it was really, I had this negative influence on me since such a young age because I was, when you are working already at the age of 14 and they ask you to change something about yourself, or you're never good enough, you have to lose weight. And I was constantly for years trying to lose weight. And then when I finally like lost huge amount of weight because I had eating disorder, literally, I've heard from my ex-agency now that you finally, maybe we can send you to Paris, like maybe you're finally good enough. So I would say there's definitely a lot of brainwashing in that industry, but how do I overcome it? I think really cooking really helped me, to be honest, because I was always like really artistic kid, and like self-expression and like arts craft, like painting or drawing or something like that was really like kind of my escape. And when I was dealing with eating disorder, funny enough, or how ironic it is, but I started really cooking more, not just for me, but for other people.
Right.
And that was kind of like my escape from everything else.
And how long ago was that when you started kind of like cooking for yourself?
I was probably 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I feel like it's like when you replace a bad habit, you have to, you can't just drop the habit, you have to find something to replace it, otherwise you're gonna keep going back. And I feel having a passion, whatever it is, like that's so crucial, so paramount to have, so you can kind of put that other stuff aside, and say like, hey, if I just give my full focus to this, it'll bring me more life.
Yeah. And I kind of felt like I was in such a negative space the whole time, like fashion industry is so competitive, and I was not in a very happy place at that time. And I I was like, okay, like I love cooking, and I'm going to do it whenever I feel down, whenever I feel pressure to do something, and that's really, really helped me, and that kind of shifted my attitude in a different way.
That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I could say the same for cooking. I used to be a lot better when I was younger. I'd like yourself, I would kind of like have people come over and cook for them.
Yeah.
Today I'm all about just like cook it real fast, eat it, and just go. Like I'm not as good as I used to be.
It's never too late. It's never too late to start again.
It is. It's not. Yeah. I just feel like, myself as well. Like I have the woodworking now, and I didn't realize how much time that takes when I actually do it. Like I start early in the morning after I work out, and like blink of an eye, it's already like the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's like
it is time consuming.
Yeah, yeah. And I imagine it's the same with baking, because like you said, it's not you just put stuff together and put it in the oven. You have to calculate.
Well, like with sourdough it's way different. So like the sourdough is like 2 or 3 day process.
Wow.
When like the night before I have to like prepare my starter or levain,
Right.
and the next day I'm mixing the dough, and the day after I'm baking the bread. So it's like a long process.
Right.
And you have to wait like 2 days to see results. But
Wow.
I think that's the part I like the most.
Yeah, yeah. You have to have a lot of patience for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you cook?
It pays off.
Yeah. Do you cook like just like more, I guess, non-pastry stuff too, or is it kind of you're just focusing on pastries right now?
No, I kind of cook everything. Like I am on dinner duty in my household, like all the time, which is great. I love cooking. So whenever I can't cook, I will. But pastries is definitely something that I love the most, because it's so artistic.
It is.
And I get away. That's for me the way to really express myself, and it's great.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think too. I think I might have asked earlier, but when you, because I know you said you kind of want to take it further, like as far as a career goes, when you kind of get further with something you're really passionate about, and you start, either working at a restaurant or get clients or whatever, do you find it hindering at all sometimes?
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Hindering in a sense from like, this is your passion, but now it's like, all right, you got to take this seriously. There's other people involved, like they have a say in it.
Yeah, you worry kind of like, maybe if it's my work now, maybe I'm gonna lose the passion for it. That was one of my worries, to be honest. And when I was working in a restaurant, I kind of felt like, okay, I'm worried I'm gonna lose it if I'm working like almost every day, and it's long hours, and you have to like talk with the clients, and sometimes people are not so nice. I felt like, okay, maybe I should do something else. But to be honest, like since I started doing stuff on my own, I think I have more freedom to do things.
Right.
And I have the freedom to change things on a menu, or I can just do whatever I want. And I think that's really keeps me going and keeps things more interesting.
Right. I know you already posted this online, but I have to ask, are you going to do like any sort of like YouTube videos or anything, or I know you said you wouldn't.
I don't really see myself doing YouTube videos, but I was kind of thinking about doing some kind of workshop like in person once the quarantine and the lockdowns are over. I was thinking about doing that. That would be something more that, being in touch with people.
Right.
And kind of create like a real community.
I like that.
That would be something more. Yeah.
Yeah. As opposed to like connecting through a camera, with an audience. You're just like, you want a real community. Okay.
Yeah. I want something I can touch in real life.
Tangible. Yeah.
No. But who knows, maybe I can do YouTube in the future, but I don't really, for now, I don't do that.
We want to see it.
Yeah.
No, it's really good. I appreciate anyone who has just a love of a craft or whatever they do, whether it's cooking or baking, or like I know a guy I met, I bought something from him, and he makes jewelry. He makes this very unique jewelry, but like he's so passionate about it, and like I love it. It's whatever you do, it's
and I kind of feel like life is a little too short to be doing something that you hate. Like I cannot really see myself doing it for this job, because I know it's going to be like a waste of my time.
Have you ever worked in an office?
No.
It is the worst, literally the worst thing ever. I did it for 2 years, and after that second year, I was like, you know what? I'm never going back.
Well, now you know, so there's no,
There's no reason to not be able to work for yourself with all the tools that are available. You know, the world is available, like, right on the phone, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's much easier to be independent now.
Yeah, I think it really is easier to be independent right now. And when you have, like, and social media and all, and I feel like people are much more supportive now if you want to be independent, do something on your own, whereas, like, maybe 10, 15 years ago, you just have to have, like, a stable job.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell, too, like, a lot of, I have friends that aren't signed to model agencies, but they are models, and, like, or when I see musicians that are independent, like, I always strive, I want people to strive for that independency, you know, because, like we said, signing to those agencies, signing that contract, you know, that's so much of your life that could be taken away, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think for everything you have, like, risks and benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you sign with a well-known agency, you have the name,
right,
and they can promote you a little better. So
right.
I know, like, for example, if you go to a casting, unless you, like, really gorgeous looking, I think, like, the name of the comp card, the name of your agency really helps and push, because clients have connections with these agencies.
Right.
So it really depends. I think it's good to have an agency at the beginning, like well-known agencies, to kind of establish your own contacts, and then you can go whatever you want to do. You could be influencer or freelancer or whatever.
Right. That's a main theme that I've had conversations with other people. When you have that name, it's kind of like you're in a fraternity or a sorority. So people see, they're like, oh, you're in the cool club. Okay,
that's true.
As soon as you're not, like, it's just like, you know, unless you're able to establish yourself.
Yeah. And I think, you know, being in an agency has, like, negative side, like, you know, lack of independence and stuff. But like, on the positive note, that you get to learn so much, and those connections, and it's really priceless.
Yeah. You got to work hard at it. You got to really pay attention and be able to work hard, and it all matters. It's not just fun and games, you know. Yeah.
But I kind of feel like if you notice that, you have to be really established in this industry, because when you're young, and I remember being young, and I really wanted to be signed by, like, ING or Ford. It was, like, the big name agencies, and like right now, I know it would not be a good decision for me, because those big agencies have sometimes, like, hundreds and hundreds of girls, and if you're young and if you're not experienced, then you just get lost.
You get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, because sometimes they just don't really care, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So you get lost, and then you start doubting yourself and what's not.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. It's very difficult. Do you ever find yourself, like, getting back to that world, even, like, just, like, independently kind of modeling, or just are you fully, like, you're done with that?
I think I'm fully done.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely feel like I've got my, you know, I was modeling for most of my life, like, not most of my life, but half of my life, and
but,
it's
like,
been
your
amazing.
Childhood, though, like, that's most of your life right there.
I don't really regret it. I think it's been really great, and I have so many things because of that.
Right.
But I don't really see myself going back.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I close this chapter, and I'm moving to the next one.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. Does I know too that, like, did people kind of freak out when you just start posting pictures of bread on your Instagram?
Oh, no, social media. Oh, maybe a little bit. A little bit. Like, at the beginning, I would get, like, some mean messages that were like, "Hey, I was not following you because, like, I wanted to follow, like, bread account." So I kind of decided, you know, this is, like, my face, and I get to share whatever I want. So, like, my blocked list is so long right now. I just, like, this is, like, I kind of feel like, if, you know, that's part of your self-care, I think.
Right. It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, if you don't like it, like, why choose, like, don't send me a message that you don't like my page. Just unfollow and move on. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not really worried about that. But yeah, definitely kind of shifted, and I definitely lost some followers because of that, but I don't really.
Yeah, it does. It's not. Yeah, it's not a big deal. But, like, even still, though, do you ever? Maybe not now, because you're older. You have, you know, you seem like you know yourself very well, you know. But back then, did it ever, having that many people kind of comment on your life, does it have an effect on your psyche?
Well, I think it definitely has,
Yeah.
but it's different because I think when I started modeling, we didn't really have Instagram back then.
Right.
I'm that old.
You're not old.
Yeah,
you
when
just started
young. Yeah, when I started, we didn't really have like social media, and it was like a really new thing later on, like a few years in the industry, when like having followers on Instagram stuff was a thing, and that was just. I remember talking with some of my roommates when I was living. I think it was in Spain, and we were talking about followers and stuff like that because we had a situation when we had casting together, and there was this poster on the door for the casting studio that if you have below 50,000 followers, you're not allowed to do casting. And for me, it was just so ridiculous at the time. But right now, it's kind of a new norm.
Right.
Yeah, the bigger you're following, the bigger chance you're gonna get the job, which is really ridiculous.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. Yeah, it's less based on merit and more so social proof.
Yeah. But you know, like if you were young in the industry, or when you from Ukraine or Russia, and let's say you don't have a phone to have an Instagram,
right?
But you're gorgeous looking, and you have the huge potential to be like an amazing model. And, you know, the chances are not equal right now. I feel like. Yeah.
Do you like? I know you said it's kind of changing a little bit, but also too with late news, you know, it also kind of seems like at a standstill as far as like equality goes, and maybe the most change I've seen is in the LA market because it's so diverse in LA. But as far as anywhere else goes, it's still kind of, it seems the same.
I kind of feel like people talk about change a lot right now, but to be honest, like behind the scenes, not many things change or are changing. We definitely see more diverse market in LA, that's for sure. You have like plus size models, and you know, it's just everything. You can find everything in LA.
Right.
But like as far as Europe, I don't think things are changing that much. Yeah, we, you know, like the Paris market is definitely the most extreme, and I think it's really hard to change a market that's so, you know, old and established.
Right.
And they just don't want to. I feel like they just don't want to change. Maybe they change because of the rest of the world is pressuring them, but so far I haven't really seen a change.
Right. Yeah. No, that's very true. People only really, as soon as they get caught in an act of, you know, maliciousness, that's like, all right, we'll change now. You know, you caught us. Yeah.
But then we're gonna go back to our old ways.
Right. Yeah. It's just, people should just quit, become a baker, start cooking food. Yeah.
You know, I kind of feel like I can see more change and diversity in like magazines world, but it's also because that's basically created for like normal people, right? You buy a magazine if you are like a housewife or something. So it's kind of more for the client or for just normal people. But if you look at like that fashion designers or something, that if you look at shows or campaigns, you don't see much diversity at all.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a period in my life where I was starting to get into like editorial work, and it kind of baffled me every time I thought about it, because I was like, who's reading magazines? You know, like it's, you know, it's very small market, but I think I was, because I was in fashion before I was in like the modeling industry, and I was not interested at all. Like I had like, it was just not, it was boring to me. It was not something I was passionate about, especially like the market itself. I was just like not into it. So I kind of fell off from photography for like a year, like pretty much during the pandemic. And that's when I got into woodworking. And it was only until a couple months ago I had a lot of life changes. And like I fell out of love with photography, but then I kind of got back into it because I realized my biggest inspiration when it comes to photography is working with people and creating that experience. You know, like it's not the glamour and kind of like fast. Like I'm very, very protective of myself, of who I work with now, because a lot of people take like in that industry. A lot of people take from you. Like I've worked with so many people where it's just the experience takes from the whole joy of like the art. You know.
Yeah, I definitely felt that too there, because like I at the beginning I was really protective of the fashion industry, and I was like, okay, this is like, for me it's a really creative way to kind of express myself as again, and like I'm part of the story that we're creating, and for a magazine or something like that, I get to dress up and create like a story. But then later on I'm like, okay, I'm just being used in many ways, and I am not really a part of the story. I'm just being used for my looks.
Right. Yeah. No.
Yeah. So it's definitely. I think it depends who you work with too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and people's attitude towards like the art.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's an important thing too, because if you're in it, you're an artist. Like no matter what you're doing, there's art to everything that you do, and it's very demeaning when someone's just like. They just want the pictures for the Instagram, Yeah. It's less about the experience.
Yeah, and I, like later on when I was really when I was really considering career change, I just started to feel more like a part, like I was one of the products on the website or like on the catalog or something like that, because I really felt that, I was not really enjoying it anymore, and I was just thinking, okay, like I just feel like I'm like a mannequin or like a doll. I just don't really feel like I belong anymore. So yeah, I think it depends who you work with, because I had some amazing clients and photographers who really made me feel like I was really part of the project. But many times when you on set and if you're a model, they treat you like like you're a product.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, that's to be said too, that there's good experiences. This is not just all negative talk.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If anyone actually wants to get into it, like I have a cousin who wants to he wants to be a male model, and I think he's young and he's kind of been practicing getting into it, but like I always tell him, like, hey, you got to look out for it's hard work, and there's a lot of negative aspect, but if you want to do it, man, just do it. Like it's an experience, and there's good experiences to be had.
Yeah, I think it's really worth it once you establish yourself a little. Like I think when I started, I was way too young to be starting in this industry. I didn't know anything about the world or just anything. So I think to be in this industry, you have to kind of establish yourself a little, and you just have to have this idea of self a bit more, because otherwise people are gonna use you, or you're just gonna get lost. Yeah,
that's very true. But you gotta have patience. I think patience and a lot of
you have to be determined too.
Yeah,
because it takes a lot of work to kind of succeed in this industry.
It's a big ocean. Yeah. And you start off as a little tadpole, so it's like it takes a lot of hard work, but
I think it's worth it. And as I said before, I don't really regret anything, and that's I am where I am because I work as a model, and I speak English because I was a model, and there's so many things that
Is that how you learned English?
Well, I had English at school, but when I started traveling really and living with like English-speaking models, or even like like models have to speak English. There is no other way to get around, but you have to learn English. So that's how I was pushed to learn the language, which I am really, really grateful for.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah,
I'm trying to learn Spanish myself right now. I have a Hispanic background, but like I've never actually been fluent, so I started taking classes for Spanish recently. So
you just have to I think you just have to throw yourself in like a situation.
You do. You have to be okay with being uncomfortable and being awkward. I think those are the two.
Oh yeah.
The two big.
Yeah, once you overcome those two things, then you can it's easy from there.
It is. Yeah. Like just no fear of rejection or feeling judged. Yeah.
I
think judgments is kind of like the biggest thing that people worry about, and it's definitely what I worried about, because I was very insecure about not being able to for most of my work I have to speak Spanish. And like when I can start a conversation but then I just drop it, like I drop the ball, I'm like, oh shit, I feel awkward.
Yeah
So it's tough, but like you said, if you can get past that, it's all worth it.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So, is there any sort of advice that you would give to people as far as understanding who you are in a world that's tries to change everything about you?
I think you just have to try things. You just have to try as many things as you can before you kind of decide what do you want to do. Because, I think like I grew up in a system where, like, in Poland, you have to decide who you want to be at such a young age, because if you go to high school, you have to decide on the profile if it's going to be more like science-based, mathematics, and then from that on, you get to apply to universities.
Right.
And you have to decide on your major right away after high school. So they kind of create this, like, they kind of create this really difficult system for us young people, because you have to decide what do you want to be at such a young age when you don't know shit, to be honest.
Yeah, you don't even know yourself.
Exactly. And I think you just have to try as many things as you want and as many things as you can before you actually make this decision. So if you want to travel, great. Just drop out of not drop out of college, but you can take like a gap year. You can take like a gap year out of from high school, between the high school and college.
Right.
Take a gap year and like travel, like meet people, and I think it's really really great. And then you get to learn so many things about yourself that you never really knew existed. So yeah, I think that's my advice, to try things.
Yeah.
Because that's what really creates us.
Right. And I'd add to make mistakes, not being afraid.
Oh yeah. Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Not permanent mistakes anyways, like
just don't get tattoos when you're drunk.
Never do that.
Never do that. That's a mistake that you cannot really reverse. But
never do that. That's definitely one. Don't get a tattoo. I mean, this is for some people. Don't get a tattoo of your boyfriend or girlfriend's name on you.
Yeah, that's what I learned. Yeah.
But no, yeah, I think too, like, even seeing you talk about making mistakes when you're baking bread.
Yeah, I think that's just part of it. That's part of the process, and you just have to accept it.
Right.
It was really hard for me because I am such a perfectionist that I have to get things right, and otherwise I just get really upset. But I came to realize that just part of the journey, part of the process, to be honest.
Yeah. And how you react to it is going to determine your amount of success.
Yeah.
That's very good. So I mean, people heard it here. Drop out of school, make mistakes. Try things.
Don't listen, kids.
But that was already an hour right there. I think that was really good. I think there's
it's been great.
Yeah. That's really, I really appreciate you doing this, and hopefully I get to try the bread someday. I would really it looks amazing, honestly.
I would love to send you a loaf, and I think if you live close to LA, that's gonna be easy, because I actually sent a loaf to New York State once for my birthday. Yeah. So it's a little too far, but if you live in California, then I don't think it's gonna be a problem. So I can send you a loaf or two.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'd appreciate that. Yeah, and hopefully we can do this again sometime in person whenever this ends.
After we're back to normal. Yeah.
Awesome, Maggie.
Hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah. I really appreciate it, and thank you again. I appreciate it.
It's been great talking to you.
Yeah, you too. All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Bye.